Good morning. We will begin our service with the ringing of the temple bell. At this time, please silence your cell phones and listen quietly as the sounding of the concho is an invitation to settle our hearts and minds as we prepare to receive the Dharma. Thank you.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
Aloha and welcome to today's observance of Spring Ohigan. I'm Stephen Kaneko and I will serve as your MC for this hybrid service. A very special welcome to our guest speaker, Reverend Kerry Kiyohara, as well as to Sangha members of Kamuela and Kohala Honganji, who have traveled many miles to join us for this Ohigan service. As explained by Reverend Blaine, our Ohigan services occur twice a year around the spring and fall equinox when the daylight and nighttime are equal. In many ancient cultures, it is a time of celebration to remind us of our deep connection to the rhythms and cycles of the earth and the entire universe. Ohigan translates to the other shore and is a metaphor for crossing from this shore of ignorance, anger, and greed to the other shore of nirvana and peace. Assisting at the temple with technical support is the Zoom crew of Alan Matsumoto, Lynn Katayama, and Joey Guzman. Corinne Chong is our organist, and Betty Takioka will lead the singing. Let us start the service with the offering of flowers by visiting Sangha friends Margie Kaiser from Kamuela Honganji and Wendy Nickel from Kohala Honganji. Offering of lights will be done by Hedy Casquillo Gray and Jack Nunberg of Kona Honganji. Please rise for Vandana and Tisarana, led by Reverend Blaine. Please chant both the Pali and English parts together with him.
Namanda, Vutsunamanda, 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 Namanda, Vutsunamanda.
Please remain standing as Reverend Blaine will now share an aspiration.
Please join me in Gasho. We gather this morning as friends in the Dharma, as fellow travelers along the journey of life. As we welcome the turning of the seasons, we reflect on the path of the Bodhisattva, which helps us to realize the other shore of awakening, freeing us from the poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance. During the spring equinox, we celebrate the promise of renewal and reflect on our deep connection to the rhythms and cycles of the earth when all of nature and the entire universe are in perfect balance. May we too find spiritual balance through the practice of the Buddha's teaching. May this be a new beginning for us as we kindle the light of hope and courage to stand against injustice, cruelty, and tyranny in our world. In this dark and chaotic time, let us endeavor to listen to the Buddha Dharma with not just our ears, but with our entire being, and strive to embody the teachings in all that we do for the welfare and happiness of all. Entrusting the dynamic working of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion, we call the honored name of Amida, the Buddha of infinite light and life, with profound gratitude, abiding joy, and a heart-centered awareness for the miracle of each unrepeatable moment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
You may be seated. It is now time for the offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. And please use both incense burners. Let us observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namanam, 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 namanam. Namanam, namanam.
Reverend Blaine will now lead us in the chanting the sutra San Butsuge. Words can be found on page 47 in the Jodo Shinshu service book. It's the red one, the back of the pews, and on the screen. So page 47.
The Buddha of infinite light and life made vows to embrace all beings equally without exception. These vows promise to create a perfect world where no suffering or evil exists and guides us to supreme awakening. The Sambutsuge, or hymn in praise of the Buddha, is a poem from the larger Pure Land Sutra in which Amida Buddha, as a bodhisattva, praises his teacher and makes his 48 vows to establish the Pure Land of enlightenment for the welfare and the happiness of all beings. We chant the words of the Buddha as a reminder of these great vows made to awaken and to liberate us all. The hymn in praise of Buddha. 사인극 이사다이안 계시음은 야그센 노그만 무녀나이쇼 신여고자 그요 이사이 시토쇼무 분영은도 겐쇼풍약 인영고자 쇼문생아이 무풍강행 무시센도 고묘시쇼 벤시쇼곡 뇨세쇼징 이젠난요 용아사붓 고구도 나이치 고시이며 도조조셋 고그녀 나이용 님으도서 가도 아이밍 노단니사이 제포라이쇼 신넷쇼조 이통하고 계라그안론 노분신묘 생아신쇼 헛안노이리기쇼쇼욕 제포세성 지혜문에 조려시성 징하신여 계려신시 쇼그도그즈 강요쇼징 닌즈풍에 나만나부 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 나만나 나만다 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 나만다.
Please rise for the Gatha, the wondrous gift of peace. Words can be found on page 220 in the brand new purple Gatha book and on the screen. Page 220. So please be seated. So this morning, I am pleased to introduce our guest speaker, Reverend Kerry Kiyohara, resident minister of Makawao Honganji Buddhist Temple on Maui. Reverend Kerry was Tokudo ordained in 2016, graduated from Chuo Bukkyo Gakuin Seminary in Kyoto, and in 2018 was certified as a Kyoshi teacher of the Buddha Dharma in the Jodo Shinshu Honganji tradition. He previously worked as CEO, COO, and CMO in the advertising agency business, partner in startup ventures, strategy consultant, and a copywriter in Los Angeles, Tokyo, Beijing, Shanghai, and Honolulu. Reverend Kerry was born and raised in Los Angeles and graduated with a BA and MBA degrees from the University of Southern California. So fight on. He is fluent in Japanese, speaks basic Spanish and survival Chinese, and struggles but has gotten much better with the kind pidgin English. He is married to wife Mimi and has a son and 2 grandchildren. Please give a warm welcoming aloha to Reverend Kerry Kiyohara.
Good morning. I'd like to begin with the words of Shinran Shonin. Let's look this way. Okay. There we go. Please listen quietly to the words of Shinran Shonin. As for me, I simply accept and entrust myself to what my revered teacher told me. Just say the Nembutsu and be saved by Amida. Nothing else is involved. The wisdom of Shinran Shonin, which you can find in the Tanisho, a record of lament of divergences. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning. Aloha kakahiaka, ohayo gozaimasu. Buenos dias, zao shang hao. Hey, how's it? I'm working at it. Okay. Thank you very much, mahalo nui, for inviting me to be the guest speaker today for the spring equinox service here at Kona Honganji. So today, I'd like to talk about the significance and the meaning of Higan, so the equinox. Why is it a major observance in the Honganji tradition? And especially, what can Higan mean for us today, living in the real world? And Buddhism offers, Shin Buddhism offers, a very simple daily practice of gratitude that anyone can do, anywhere, anytime. So what is Higan? In the Japanese Buddhist tradition and Japanese culture, Higan traditionally marks the turning point between seasons, or what in the Western world we call the equinox. It occurs twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. So the spring equinox, marks the cold of winter. And Kona is actually a lot like Makawao. It gets pretty cold at night. So the cold of winter turning into the warmth of spring, we can feel spring coming, and then the heat of summer. So Higan is when day and night are exactly equal, when light and dark are in perfect balance. So Higan is a reminder of the Buddhist truth of impermanence, the truth that all things arising from causes and conditions, especially ourselves as human beings, we're constantly changing and will not last forever. In the Jodo Shinshu Honganji tradition, Higan, the equinox, is considered the ideal time to pause and reflect on the balance between our spiritual and secular lives. So the meaning and significance of Higan is traditionally taught through the parable of the White Path. Master Shandao, who's the fifth of the 7 Pure Land masters revered by Xinhuan Shonin, he wrote the parable, the White Path, in the 5th century in China. So in the parable, Higan literally means the other shore. And in Jodo Shinshu Honganji tradition, the other shore is the Pure Land of Amida Buddha, the realm of ultimate bliss, Sukhavati, realizing supreme enlightenment and returning to this world in oneness with Amida to save all people. So in Japanese, Shigang means this shore, which refers to this human world of confusion and delusion in which we live. And thus, the journey, right, the purpose of this unrepeatable life is to go from this shore to the other shore by walking the path of the Nembutsu, by walking the path of Namo Amida Butsu, by living the life of gratitude. So the parable of Shandao, as told by, the parable of the White Path, as taught by Shandao. So many of you have probably seen this representation of the White Path. A river of fire and a river of water separates this shore and the other shore, the Pure Land of Amida, the realm of awakening to reality as it is and becoming Buddha. So the only way to cross the 2 rivers is to go from this shore to the other shore. It's a white path about 4 inches across. Now on this shore, you hear the voices of bandits saying, "You'll never make it. You're not brave enough. You'll never be good enough. You'll fall in. Come back to this shore and we'll help you." On this shore, you hear wild animals and beasts growling, right, and fighting over who gets to eat you. Whoa, Reverend Kerry looks pretty tasty. Okay. On this shore, you also hear the voice of Shakyamuni Buddha saying, "Take refuge in Amida Buddha, kindness and understanding beyond words. You are embraced, never to be abandoned, just as you are. Have no fear, just say, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu." So from the other shore, you can kind of see the other shore, you hear the calling voice of Amida. "Walk on the white path with singleness of heart and mind. You will not drown in the river of fire. You will not fall into the river of water. You will not be hurt by the bandits. You will not be eaten by wild animals. I will save you without fail. Just say, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu." And the parable of the White Path just ends there. Poof. It leaves us to interpret, right, what does it mean? But also to integrate, right, the wisdom of this parable into our daily lives. So what does this parable mean in the 21st century? Now, you're not going to be the first person to say, "Hey, Kerry, wait a minute. What does this parable have to do with me?" We don't live in 5th century China. There's no bandits out there chasing us. There's no wild animals who want to eat us. Sensei, I live in the real world. Indeed. So let's think about what the parable might mean to us today. All right, this is what, 2025, right? So in the real world, right, on this shore, right, raise your hand if you're constantly juggling your responsibilities and demands on your time. You have partners, right? You got family, you got school, you got work, you're caregiving, you're volunteering. Just being retired is pretty busy. Our computers, tablets, smartphones, and smartwatches. Oh, excuse me, you can laugh there, it's okay. So we got computers, we got tablets, you got smartphones, you got smartwatches tracking you all over the place, constantly buzzing with calls, right? Messages, bing, and distractions. If you look at your news feed, what they call doom scrolling, right? This endless kind of So in the modern world, in today's world, in real life, the world that we live in, right, we're often so busy with stuff. We're just busy with stuff. Right? It consumes all of our attention, and it drains all of our energy. So we seldom have time to stop and smell the incense. So thanks for coming to church on Sunday so you can smell the incense. But think about it. Right? Honestly, when was the last time you had a moment take a deep breath, to rebalance yourself, to recenter yourself. When was the last time you did that? Consciously, deliberately. I'm going to take a moment and so I try to teach this to the preschool kids. So when you get angry, when someone's teasing you, right? In Japanese, we talk about the horns of anger. But I tell them, take a deep breath and put on your Buddha face. Little kids like stuff like that. So. But think about it, really. When was the last time you focused on the spiritual side of your life? So it's no wonder in the modern world that our spiritual lives suffer from neglect, and we often find ourselves completely out of balance. So the white path, crossing the river of fire and the river of water, is, of course, represents our lives in the real world. So we desperately seek relief. We want refuge from the chaos of the modern world. But the path is narrow. Right? We have doubts. Why should you believe me? I'm a former advertising guy. Never believe anything an advertising guy says. Right? But we have fears. Right? We get distracted. Oh, look what the government's doing now. Oh my, we're lost. In many ways, we're lost. So on this shore, our lives are filled with modern bandits who want to steal our money, and they're yelling at us. Want more, buy this, work harder, get ahead. Or you have evil advertising guys like me introducing fear into your brain. Are you sure you won't run out of money in retirement? Right? Some of the greatest action headlines in the world, right? Don't make this mistake with your retirement money. And if you do any kind of things online, the advertising is optimized to put this fear into your head. So even if you're okay, you're okay, but you start, oh, gee, do I have enough money? The introduction of fear. This is what sells products, but that's a different discussion. This is a classic one, right? Stressed out, drink this. Right? If it's a beer commercial, right? Miller Time, pop, the sound of the bubbles. You can't actually show people drinking alcohol in advertising. So there's always the half-empty glass, boom. And then the happy faces of, yeah. But think about that, right? The system is designed to stress you out and then sell you stuff to relieve your stress. It's the American way. On this shore, our lives are filled with modern wild animals and beasts growling at us. Hate the other. Hate the other. Give in to your anger. Destroy everything. The river of water, which is our self-centered greed, it insists, if I only had more money, I'd be happy. If only I were young again, I'd be happy. If I could live forever, I'd be happy. Yeah. The river of fire, which is our anger, our fear, our doubts, it insists, I'm right, they're wrong. Someone else is to blame for my unhappiness. It's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. It's not my fault, I'm the victim here. On this shore, Shakyamuni Buddha is teaching us this wisdom has been available for 2,600 years. Hey, bro, life is tough. You don't always get what you want. Right? Selfishness causes all the suffering in your life. Eliminate selfishness, suffering ends. The way to eliminate selfishness is the Eightfold Path. No, Mommy Tapas. But raise your hand if you're a monk. Oh, okay, I guess not. But if in theory, right, so myself, Blaine, and Linda, we're all ordained priests. We're sort of like monks. I mean, we've taken vows and stuff. But the traditional path, the Eightfold Path, total commitment. Give up everything, right? Become a monk, shave your head. You have an advantage, actually. You're halfway there. And you have to live under very strict precepts, right? There's all these rules, right? You can't eat meat, and you can't do this, you can't do... basically, are there any children in the room? No sex, drugs, and rock and roll, to put it in more modern terms. Okay, I went to high school in the 70s. That's the kind of thing we did. But think about that. You have to give up all of that stuff. Give up your retirement fund. Give up your house. Give up your fancy clothes. Right? Here, Here's a razor to keep your head shaved clean. Here's a begging bowl. Go out and find the truth. Hey, who's ready? Let's go. So again, the monastic life is not for everyone. So the traditional path to Buddhism is not for everyone. And in the Jodo Shinshu, the Honganji tradition, Amida Buddha is calling to us from the other shore. If the Eightfold Path is too difficult, if you're unable to achieve the perfections of the six paramita, take refuge in Namo Amitabha, the path of Nembutsu, the life of gratitude, and you will reach the other shore of enlightenment without fail. Just call out my name, Namo Amitabha, and I will be there. Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. So let's look at the teachings of Renyo Shonin. And traditionally, he would be facing the altar. He's got his own altar on the left. As the 8th Monshu, lived in 15th century in Japan. It's considered the great restorer of the Honganji tradition. So in the 15th century, the Honganji once was great, but its membership was declining. Temples are closing. Young people are not interested in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism anymore. Does that sound familiar? Right? These are things that we struggle with every day. So he says this. There are, in the hymn of Chu Shinjin and Nembutsu, the following lines. Solely saying Amida's name constantly, one should respond with gratitude to the universal vow of great compassion. This teaches us that we should simply recite the Nembutsu, or call the name, as an expression of gratitude for the Buddha's benevolence, whether walking, stopping, sitting, lying down, irrespective of time, place, and circumstances, the wisdom of Renyo Shonin. And thus, saying Namo Amitabha constantly, all the time, anywhere, this is our practice. The practice of Nembutsu, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. Now, raise your hand if you're constantly saying Namo Amitabha all the time. It's okay, don't feel bad. Most people don't, even if you're a longtime Honganji member. Culturally, we're Americans. It's embarrassing to be like, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. It feels weird. It feels weird. Also, as a public speaker, it would be kind of odd for someone in the middle of my talk to be shouting something out. But think about it. It actually exists in Western culture. If you've been to a Christian service, hallelujah. And everyone says hallelujah. Amen, amen, so be it. It's that kind of thing. And it should be just as natural as that. And yet, we don't do it, even though it's our practice. So the practice of Master Shandao, Master Honen, and Master Shinran, just say it. Just say Namo Amitabha. That's all you need. But it's harder than it looks. It's harder than it looks. So Jodo Shinshu offers a really easy entry point into the practice of Nembutsu, the path of gratitude. So Amakwa Honganji member, and she once told me that when she's asked by non-Buddhists, they say, oh, you're a Buddhist. What's your practice? And she says this. Oh, sorry. It's got to be this one. Our practice is eating. Oh, you're a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist. You're a Honganji Buddhist. What's your practice? Our practice is eating. And that answer is funny, right? It's hilarious because it's true. It's very true, right? Every Honganji gathering, we spend more time planning the menu and who's going to do what, right, than the actual content of the event. It's kind of, and there's a lot of preparing, serving, and eating, and cleaning. And we always have enough food to feed twice as many people as always shows up. It's a Honganji thing. And so then we have to figure out how to take the leftovers home. No, sensei, you take them home. Yes, I often do, as you can see. So all Buddhist traditions, right, have very specific practices that lead to awakening to reality as it is, becoming enlightened, becoming a Buddha. So achieving enlightenment, awakening to reality as it is, in this body, in this life. So the path of discipline taught by Shakyamuni, the Eightfold Path of the Noble Ones, again, requires you to become a monk, shave your head, give up everything, dedicate your life to the study, chanting of sutras, rigorous practice, meditation, contemplation, begging for food, eating one meal a day, and living by an incredible number of rules. Later, the Mahayana stream of Buddhism emerges for householders. So people who have kids, people who have jobs, got other things. You're not able to follow the monastic path. Jodo Shinshu, the Pure Land Way, is part of the Mahayana tradition. So Buddhism enters China, and two distinctly new paths emerge. One is Zen. So Zen Buddhism actually emerges from China, and the other is Pure Land, of which we are part of. So the easy path of the Pure Land, it's in its traditional form, is still quite rigorous. You still have to become a monk. Right, so Shantou, the fifth of the seven masters of the Pure Land Way in the Jodo Shinshu tradition, he identifies, quote unquote, the 5 right practices, the 5 the true practices that you can do to achieve birth into the Pure Land. So one must single-mindedly and wholeheartedly read and recite, so in other words, chant the 3 Pure Land Sutras. So the rack with the 4 scrolls in it, that's the Pure Land Sutras. If you did all of them back to back, it's about 4 hours. So let's go, let's chant the sutras. You contemplate and meditate on Amida and the Pure Land. So the Buddha, the statue of the Buddha, the altar, this is a representation of the Pure Land. So when you sit and reflect and meditate and contemplate, why did Amida make this vow to save everybody? Why? The Pure Land, how beautiful is the Pure Land? The Pure Land is the big island without human ego. Think of that, Hawaii without human ego. We live in paradise. What makes it not so great is human ego. And that's the promise of the Pure Land. So you can sit in front of the altar and meditate, contemplate. You have to prostrate yourself. You have to bow before Amida, the 5-point bow. So knees, hands, forehead. Tibetan Buddhists do this 10,000 times a day. And you can imagine getting up and down off the ground 10,000 times a day means your core muscles are in good shape. Number 4, say the name of Amida. Number 5, praise and make offerings to Amida. So this is the original meaning of Nembutsu, the practice of Nembutsu, contemplation, meditation, or thinking on the Buddha. So these 5 core practices, these 5 practices form the core of Jodo Shinshu liturgy and practice. And so today, our Sunday service, but we have all of these elements. So believe it or not, you're following, we're trying to do the 5 proper acts, the 5 right acts to be for birth into the Pure Land, right? We chanted a sutra together. We have a quiet moment of meditation. You're always looking at the altar. We bow. We don't put our head on the floor anymore. We say Namo Amida Butsu, the name of the Buddha, and we praise and we make offerings. So the readings we do, we're praising the Buddha. Sanbutsuge is the sutra in praise of the Buddha. We make offerings of flowers and light, food, etc., etc. So that's the original meaning. So again, on Sunday services, we're actually doing this stuff. So raise your hand if you're our Buddha. The whole point, of course, is that we're not capable of becoming Buddha in this body, in this life. It happens after we pass from this world, and we go to the Pure Land of Amida. So as you know, Shinran spent 20 years on Mount Hiei, the greatest center of Buddhism in Japan in the 13th century. He was a monk totally dedicated to study and practice of these 5 right practices. After 20 years, age 29, Shinran realizes he's not capable of achieving enlightenment through these practices. He begins to look outside of Mount Hiei for the answers. Eventually, he encounters the Nembutsu teachings of Honen. So Honen, who becomes Shinran's great teacher, focused exclusive practice of saying the Nembutsu. Honen said the only thing you have to do of the 5 is say Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Because for ordinary people, right, who can't shave their heads, right, become a monk, it's the only path available to you. Otherwise, you could go through this endless cycle of birth and death in the world of samsara. So it's our only hope. It's our only chance. It's for everybody. What could be simpler than just saying Namo Amida Butsu? Well, do nothing, I suppose, would be simpler, but as a practice, just saying Namo Amida Butsu, that's good enough. So Shinran is recorded as quoting his great teacher Honen as saying, oops, that's the wrong way. This one, right? So yeah, just say the Nembutsu, be saved by Amida. There's nothing else involved. Nothing else involved. Just say Namo Amida Butsu. That's it. We're done. Let's go home. Hey, no need shave head. Although on you it looks good. No need chant sutras, right? No need to come to the temple. There's no need to make pickled peaches at Makawa. There's no need to make chow fun or whatever it is, your fundraiser stuff. There's no reason to have a garage sale. You don't need that stuff. Don't tell Blaine, but no need minister. Just say Namo Amitabutsu, right? So why do we come to the temple? Why do we study the teachings? And why do we volunteer to work so hard to sustain the temple? It's because of the food. Right? Honganji temples always have food at every event. So Shinran Shonin taught that the essence of the Pure Land teachings, the Shinshu of Jodo, so Jodo Shinshu, it's about awakening to the absolute reality that we are brought to hear and respond to the calling voice of Amida, right? Through the working of the primal vow, the Hongan and Honganji, the primal vow working in our lives in the midst of ordinary everyday life. It's happening right now. So Reverend Blaine uses the term, the dynamic working of Amida's vow. If we pay attention, if we could just take a deep breath and recenter ourselves, we can start sensing this, we can start feeling this connection with Amida. But because we're so busy and my phone is going off and ding, 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 we get distracted. So we don't have time to do that. So when we truly realize that Amida's vow, right, the vow to save everyone, universal salvation, it's for us, just as we are. It's for me, just as I am, unexceptional, utterly human, egocentric, filled with blind passions, selfish, driven by my self-centered cravings. I'm limited by a human mind and a human body. In that single thought moment, right, I awaken to the reality that I'm already embraced by Amida's great compassion, which was established. The vow was established to save me. And yet I'm standing up here telling all of you how to live your life, right? It's that moment of realization. It's like, why am I standing here? That's amazing. Do I feel that my birth into the Pure Land is settled? Without a doubt. Can I explain it in a way that people understand? No. Can I prove it? Can I give you empirical evidence of the existence of the Pure Land? Can I prove the existence of Amida? One of the classic answers is, you're alive, aren't you? You want proof Amida is real? You're alive. Very Japanese. So our birth into the Pure Land, our supreme enlightenment, is already assured in this life. And that's what gives you the strength and the serenity to push ahead, keep going forward in this world of samsara, the world of human confusion and delusion. So when we start saying Namo Amida Butsu, right, it's not a petitionary prayer. We're not asking Amida for anything. We just say, Amida, thank you. Thank you for saving me just as I am, even though I don't deserve this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the question becomes, how do we awaken to the calling voice of Amida working in our lives? Right? It's easy for me to say, Namo Amida Butsu, and that's the calling voice. But you have to hear it. Right? You can listen, but you have to hear it. You have to integrate it into your life. So let's reflect on the deeper meaning of Anne's observation that our practice is eating. Right? So traditionally, Japanese Americans, lots of people in Hawaii, we say itadakimasu, right, before we eat. Itadakimasu. So itadakimasu is a Japanese word. It literally translates as to be allowed to receive in gratitude. Right? And it's always said in a humble attitude, humble position. Right? So we're saying this is someone who is above us. It's a profound recognition that we're allowed to receive in gratitude because of other people, other forms of life, the blessings of the aina, right? The bounty of the earth. We are allowed to receive this food and this drink. We are allowed to share this meal with our family, with our friends, with our community. We are allowed to live this moment of this day of an unrepeatable life. We're allowed to do this. We itadakimasu, life, the gift of life. And at the end of the meal, what do we say? Gochiso-sama. When I first started studying Japanese and I learned what the kanjis meant, I was shocked because it literally translates as the honorable running around person. Gochiso-sama, so you're the honorable, the honorific person who is running around. What? But as Shin Buddhists, we recognize and express gratitude to countless people who grew and harvested the vegetables and the fruits. And just so, farming community. So no, we know that food comes from the land. But you also know that, well, you got to put the seed in the ground, which means you need to have soil, you need water, you need air, you need sunlight, you need to have farmers, taking care of the plants. You need to have somebody digging up the potatoes or whatever it is. You need to have somebody putting it in a case to put it on the truck, someone to drive the truck to the supermarket, someone to take it out of those boxes, put it into like 1 pound bags and price the thing and put it up there. Then you have to take, and then the cashier has to go, okay, that's $5.99 a pound, cha-ching. Right. Then somebody's got to take the potatoes home, got to wash them, you got to chop them up into pieces, you got to cook it, put it on a plate, present it, and then we go, itadakimasu, I deserve this. Yeah. But when you take a moment to think, wow, itadakimasu, I'm allowed to gratefully receive this gift, this amazing gift. And somebody in the kitchen made this. Gochiso-sama also refers to the people who raised or hunted the animals, the fish, the birds. We're thanking the plants and animals who give up their life energy to sustain ours. Right? We're saying mahalo to the people who process and pack the foods, the whole thing. And don't forget this part. Somebody's got to clean up. Somebody's got to wash the dishes. Right? Somebody's got to put the leftovers in Tupperware so you can eat it tomorrow. If you take a moment to reflect on this chain of events, these causes and conditions, it truly is inconceivable. How is this possible? How is this possible? The causes and conditions that allow us to share this meal, to eat this meal, right? To worry about what are we going to serve next week for the service. You start feeling humbled. Wow, there's just so many people involved in this spam musubi. Think about that. And so you become humble. And if you become humbled, you become grateful. You can't be grateful unless you're humble. Until you realize, I don't deserve this. Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So it's becoming humble and grateful for the gift of this unrepeatable life and the blessings of the Aina. So think about it. Every meal is an opportunity to take a moment to reflect on this interconnected nature of life. The truth that the Buddha taught. All life is one. All life is interconnected. Namu Amitabha. I like to think I'm a self-made man. All of my success is due to me. But it's not true. It's not true. All of my failures are a result of my thoughts, words, and actions, but that's a different talk too. When you start realizing, every meal is a chance to remember our life is only possible because of other people. Namu Amitabha. Namu Amitabha. Itadakimasu. Every meal is a precious opportunity to express our gratitude, our appreciation for the gift of this life, for the kind and gentle people in our lives, for the unseen countless people and living beings that make our life possible today. We woke up this morning, not because I deserve it, but because of this incredible chain of events. So when you awaken to your place in the world, it's not at the center, but we're simply part of this whole, this huge thing. We're part of it. It just reveals to us our total dependence on other people. So how can you hate the other when in fact our lives depend upon other people? So this should make us humble. This makes us humble. And then we're filled with this sense of gratitude and we say mahalo. Just say mahalo. Just say thank you, thank you, thank you. So in Shin Buddhism, this sense of very deep gratitude is expressed by saying Namu Amitabha, constantly, continuously, anytime, anywhere, by anyone, just as you are. What a remarkable gift. Remarkable gift. So Namu Amitabha is as simple as our practice is eating. Okay? All you have to do is say Namu Amitabha itadakimasu before each meal. Namu Amitabha Gochiso-sama after each meal. And if you deliberately and consciously force yourself to do this 3 times a day, okay, Namu Amitabha itadakimasu, Namu Amitabha Gochiso-sama, you will have said Namu Amitabha in humility, gratitude, and appreciation 3,285 times in 1 year. Okay, remember the teaching says you only have to do it once and it's good enough. But so why are we constantly saying Namu Amitabha? Because we're saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. And if you do this simple practice, I promise you, your life will change. Don't believe me, I'm an advertising guy. But if you actually try this practice, do it today. Do it today. Just force yourself. It's kind of embarrassing. You'd be in the McDonald's like, oh, namu amitabha sui tadakimasu. People look at you like you're a religious fanatic. But try it. Try it. 3 times today. Okay, 2 more times. Okay, midnight snack 3 times. And so this is the easy practice of Shin Buddhism. Can you do it 3 times a day? Every day, for a week, for a month, for the rest of the year. So today, as we mark the spring equinox, as we mark Higan, it is the perfect time to pause, reflect, and rededicate ourselves to the path of Nembutsu, the path of Namu Amida Butsu, just by the practice of eating. So just say it, Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu. Just say mahalo. So now, what's for lunch? Mahalo for listening, and may your day be filled with aloha. Thank you.
Thank you for your Ohigan message, Reverend Kerry. Miss Glenda Yamagata Pasalakwa will now lead us in unison reading of the 6 paramitas. Words can be found on the handouts and on your screen. Please join her in reciting the words out loud.
Thank you. Dana, giving. Be generous and helpful. Sheila, guidance. May I be guided by the Buddha's precepts. Shanti, tolerance. May I regard the mistakes of others with sympathy. Virya, perseverance. May I do my best in all things. Dhyana, meditation. May I reflect deeply on my life through the Buddha's teachings. Prajna, insight. May I understand the meaning of Namu Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda. We will now have the offertory presentation. Thank you, everyone, for your generous contributions, which help to sustain our temple. Please rise as we will conclude this service with singing of the Gatha Nembutsu.
Namo Namanda, 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 Namanda.
You may be seated. So this concludes today's Spring Ohigan service. Here are some announcements. Upcoming schedule of services, events, and reminders. So next Sunday, March 23rd, regular Dharma family service will be held at 10 a.m. Minister's Assistant Linda Nagai will share a Dharma message. Sunday, March 30th, Reverend Blaine will share a Dharma message at the 10 a.m. regular Dharma family service. Sunday, April 6th, regular Dharma family service will be held at 10 a.m. Minister's Assistant Linda Nagai will once again share a Dharma message. Then on Sunday, April 13th, we will celebrate Buddha's birthday with our Hanamatsuri service at 10 a.m. The guest speaker will be Dr. John Matsuoka, retired dean, UH School of Social Work. And BWA will be selling their delicious manju, so be sure to complete and submit your pre-order form with payment by this Friday, March 21st. At 1:30 that afternoon, there will be a special showing of a documentary video produced by Dr. John Matsuoka entitled Nawahine Buddha Kiakahi, The Legacy of Hawaiian Women Buddhists. So please plan to return to the temple and join us for this most interesting video. And are there any other announcements? Reverend Blaine or anybody?
Oh, just a big mahalo to our guests from Kamuela and Kohala. Thank you for joining us today, making the long drive from North Hawaii. Also, thank you to the Omigaki crew. Thank you to Glenda and Mildred for polishing the altar ornaments. They look amazing. Every 6 times a year we have Omigaki, and it makes the temple and the altar look so beautiful. Thank you to Morris Nagata for the beautiful fruit offering osanae. Thank you to everybody for your generous offerings and donations and support of the temple. This truly is a special place and a special time for us to be able to hear the Dharma together as Sangha. Oh, I forgot. Welcome back to Nancy Shimamoto, Betty's sister, older sister. So again, thank you, everybody. Oh, and then just a big mahalo to my good friend, Reverend Kerry Kiyohara, for joining us this morning. And it's always good to catch up with you, and then thank you for sharing the Dharma. So interesting to note, both Kerry and I originally came from Mo'ili Honganji, where Nancy is from also. We have a long tradition of ministers coming from Mo'ili Honganji. So.
Once again, mahalo to Reverend Kerry Kiyohara for flying all the way from Maui to be our guest speaker. And thank you to our Kamuela and Kohala Honganji members for joining us today. So for those of you on Zoom, you may leave at any time. And those of you here in person, refreshments will be served in the social hall because our practice is eating. So mahalo to Lynn Katayama, Lisa Siriaco, and I believe the members, thank you to the members of the Kohala and Honganji, Kamuela and Kohala Honganji members to bring refreshments also. And also to anyone else that brought some goodies to share. And your attendance today is most sincerely appreciated, so please be safe, and we hope to see you at our next future services. And don't forget to turn in your manju orders by this Friday, March 31st. So thank you, everyone.